The Dyatlov Pass Mystery. 1. A hike that turned into tragedy. In January 1959, Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student from the Ural Polytechnic Institute, led a hiking expedition into the Ural Mountains. His team consisted of 9 other hikers, all of whom were experienced in winter trekking. Their goal was to reach Mount Otorten, a relatively unknown peak with a challenging route. The path they chose was classified as the most difficult at the time, requiring only the most skilled mountaineers. Preparation and departure. On January 23, 1959, the group departed from Yekaterinburg, traveling to the town of Ivdel before continuing their journey by truck to the last settlement, Vizhai. There they rested before beginning their ascent. They carried food supplies, hiking equipment, cameras, and journals to document their journey. At this point, nothing seemed unusual. Everyone appeared excited and in good health. A decision that sealed their fate. On January 27th, the group began their trek. However, one member, Yuri Yudin, had to turn back due to illness. This decision ultimately saved his life, as he became the sole survivor of the expedition. By January 31st, they reached the edge of the Kholat Syakhl Mountains, translated from the Mansi language as Mountain of Death. There, they set up camp and stored some food and equipment in the forest for their return journey. On February 1st, they continued their climb, but the weather worsened. Strong winds and a snowstorm slowed their progress, causing them to lose their way and ascend a steeper slope instead. Rather than descending to a safer area, they inexplicably decided to set up camp on the exposed mountainside. This decision remains a mystery, as they could have sought shelter among the trees. That night was their last. The disappearance. After that, there was no further communication from them. Dyatlov was supposed to send a telegram to their university sports club by February 12th, but no message ever arrived. At first, no one panicked, as delays were common in extreme hiking conditions. However, after more than a week with no word from the group, their families grew concerned and urged authorities to begin a search. On February 20th, a rescue team was dispatched. What they found was far more horrifying than anyone had imagined. 2. Discovery of the bodies and strange findings. An abandoned tent with disturbing clues. On February 20th, 1959, the search team first discovered the hikers' abandoned tent on the slopes of Mount Kholat Syakhl. As they approached, something seemed off. The tent was torn open from the inside, as if the hikers had fled in a panic. Even more puzzling, most of their equipment, including warm clothing and boots, remained inside, suggesting they left unprepared for the extreme -30 degrees Celsius temperatures. Footprints were found around the tent, but they were unusual. Some showed that the hikers walked barefoot, while others wore only one shoe or socks. These tracks led to a small forest about 1.5 kilometers from the tent, where the first bodies were found. The first bodies, a disturbing scene. The first 2 victims, Yuri Doroshenko and Georgy Krivonishchenko, were discovered under a large cedar tree, dressed only in their underwear. Evidence suggested they had attempted to start a fire, but given the extreme cold, they likely succumbed to hypothermia. However, their bodies bore strange injuries. One had burn marks, while the other had blood around his mouth. Even stranger, branches up to 5 meters high were broken, as if someone had frantically tried to climb the tree, or something powerful had struck it. 3 more bodies, a desperate attempt to return. 3 other victims, Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorova, and Rustem Slobodin, were found scattered along a path leading back to the tent, as if they had tried to return but collapsed from exhaustion. Dyatlov was found lying on his back, clutching a small branch, as if struggling to survive until the last moment. Zenaida had bruises and scratches on her face, but the exact cause of her death remained unclear. Rustam had a fractured skull, yet strangely, there were no visible signs of external trauma on his skin. The last 4 bodies, a deeper mystery. It took 2 months before the remaining 4 victims were found, buried under 4 meters of snow in a small ravine. Their condition was far more horrifying than the others. Lyudmila Dubinina was found missing her tongue, eyes, and part of her lips, removed in an unusual manner. Nikolai Thibault Brignolel had a massive skull fracture, an injury comparable to a high-speed car crash. Alexander Kolovatov had a mysterious head wound, though the exact cause of death remained unknown. Semyon Zolotaryov suffered extreme rib fractures, as if struck by a force far greater than any human could exert. The strangest findings: radiation and swapped clothing. Further investigation revealed traces of radiation on some of the victims' clothing. Additionally, some were found wearing garments belonging to other hikers, as if they had taken clothing from those who had died first in an attempt to survive. Autopsy reports concluded that their injuries couldn't be explained by hypothermia or animal attacks. Forensic experts stated that the force responsible for their wounds was not human. Rather, it resembled the impact of a high-pressure shock wave or explosion. This only deepened the mystery surrounding their tragic deaths. 3. Scientific theories: extreme weather and hypothermia. After the discovery of the hikers' bodies, various theories emerged to explain what really happened at Dyatlov Pass that fateful night. One of the most scientifically supported explanations involves a combination of extreme weather, hypothermia, and rare natural phenomena. Hypothermia and paradoxical undressing. One of the main explanations for why some victims were found partially undressed is a phenomenon known as paradoxical undressing. In severe hypothermia, the nervous system and brain begin to malfunction, creating a false sensation of heat. As a result, victims instinctively remove their clothing in an attempt to cool down, even though doing so only accelerates their death. This could explain why some of the hikers were found without proper clothing, and why others were found. However, this theory does not explain the severe injuries, such as skull fractures, broken ribs, and missing body parts. Slab avalanche, a small but deadly landslide. In 2021, researchers using computer simulations and snow inspired by animation from the film Frozen suggested that the hikers may have been victims of a slab avalanche, a small but deadly snow. How could this happen? While setting up camp on the slope, the hikers may have cut into the snow layer to create a flat area for their tent. This could have destabilized the upper snow layer, causing it to collapse hours later while they were sleeping. Even a small snow slab can generate enough force to break bones and cause severe trauma. Why did they flee the tent? If an avalanche occurred, the hikers might have panicked, fearing a larger collapse. In their urgency, they cut open the tent from the inside to escape quickly. Without time to put on proper clothing, they ran out into the freezing night unprepared for minus 30 degrees Celsius temperatures. This theory explains why they left the tent in a hurry and why some suffered serious injuries. However, it does not account for the radiation found on some clothing or the missing tongue and eyes of one victim. Infrasound, a sound that induces panic. Another intriguing theory involves infrasound, low-frequency sound waves that are inaudible to humans but can affect the brain. Some scientists believe that strong winds passing through the mountains could have produced these low-frequency vibrations. Such waves can cause disorientation, anxiety, and hallucinations, possibly triggering a state of irrational panic. The hikers, experiencing extreme fear and confusion, might have fled the tent in terror without understanding why. However, this theory does not explain the severe injuries found on some victims. Why were the tongue and eyes missing? One of the most chilling aspects of the case is the missing tongue and eyes of Lyudmila Dubinina. The most logical scientific explanation is natural decomposition. Her body, found 2 months later in a ravine, was likely exposed to water, accelerating the decay process. Additionally, scavenging animals could have eaten the soft tissues, leading to the missing facial features. However, some experts remain skeptical, as the wounds appeared too clean, as if the body parts were removed with surgical precision. 4. Conspiracy theories: military, aliens, and the supernatural. While scientific explanations such as hypothermia, slab avalanches, and infrasound offer possible answers to the Dyatlov Pass tragedy, many unexplained anomalies remain. This has fueled numerous conspiracy theories, ranging from secret military experiments and extraterrestrial encounters to supernatural phenomena. 1. Secret military experiments. During the 1950s, the Soviet Union was known for conducting covert weapons tests in remote areas. Some believed that the hikers accidentally stumbled into a restricted military zone, leading to their mysterious deaths. Evidence supporting this theory. Traces of radiation were found on some victims' clothing, suggesting possible exposure to radioactive material. Some bodies had severe internal injuries without visible external wounds, which could indicate shock waves from a secret weapon or non-conventional explosives. Local residents reported seeing strange orange lights in the sky on the night of the incident, which could have been missile tests or energy weapons. If this theory is true, the Soviet military may have covered up the incident by classifying reports and providing vague explanations. 2 UFOs and extraterrestrial encounters. Another theory suggests that the hikers had an encounter with extraterrestrials or were affected by advanced alien technology. The orange lights seen in the sky by local witnesses have often been linked to UFO sightings. The radiation found on the victims' clothing could be evidence of exposure to an unknown energy source. The severe injuries on some bodies resemble cases of animal mutilations, which are frequently associated with alleged alien experiments. Some trees near the campsite were found partially burned, as if exposed to extreme heat or radiation from above. While this theory sounds like science fiction, many still believe that the hikers encountered something beyond human understanding. 3. The Yeti, or an unknown creature in the Ural Mountains. Some believe that the hikers were attacked by a Yeti, or an unidentified humanoid creature living in the Ural Mountains. The severe fractures and blunt force trauma found on some victims could indicate an attack by a massive, powerful being. A broken tree branch at a height of 5 meters suggests that something very large was either climbing or reaching down from above. Some photographs from the hikers' cameras contain unclear, shadowy figures in the distance, which some interpret as evidence of an unknown creature. Supporters of this theory argue that the Yeti, feeling threatened, violently attacked the group, causing them to flee in terror. 4th supernatural phenomena. The Mansi Curse. The Mansi people, an indigenous group in the Ural region, consider the mountain sacred. Some believe that the hikers may have violated a spiritual boundary, leading to a curse or supernatural attack. The name of the mountain, Kholat Shachul, translates to Mountain of Death in the Mansi language. No signs of a struggle were found at the site, yet the hikers fled as if being chased by an invisible force. The extreme fear and disorientation experienced by the victims could have been caused by a paranormal entity or vengeful spirits. Even today, many locals believe that the mountain holds a mystical power, warning outsiders to stay away. 5. Final analysis and conclusion. Why does Dyatlov Pass remain a mystery? After exploring various theories, from scientific explanations, military experiments, UFO encounters, to supernatural phenomena, one question remains: what really happened on the night of February 2nd, 1959, at Dyatlov Pass? While some theories explain certain aspects of the event, none can fully account for everything, making the Dyatlov Pass incident one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in mountaineering history. Why is this case so difficult to solve? 1. Lack of verifiable evidence. No survivors to provide a first-hand account of what happened. Investigations rely only on footprints, victims' injuries, and remnants of the campsite. Harsh weather and time have erased or degraded crucial evidence. 2. Contradictions between evidence and theories. If a slab avalanche was responsible, why were no clear traces of an avalanche found? If hypothermia or infrasound caused panic, why did some victims have severe internal injuries with no external trauma? If it was a military experiment, why is there no solid proof of Soviet involvement? Third Soviet government intervention. The USSR was highly secretive during that era. Many case files were kept classified for decades, fueling suspicions of a cover-up. 4. Unusual investigation process. Authorities closed the case quickly, citing an unknown natural force as the cause of death. Some forensic reports and photographs raised more questions than answers. Can this case ever be solved? Despite modern investigations, no universally accepted explanation has been found. However, some steps could bring us closer to the truth. Reanalyzing the radiation traces on victims' clothing to determine if they came from weapons or natural sources. Reconstructing the incident using modern technology to simulate what may have happened. Using AI and weather modeling to check for atmospheric anomalies on that night. Final conclusion. A mystery that will live. On Dyatlov Pass is not just a story of missing hikers. It is a tale that blurs the line between science, history, and legend. Perhaps they were victims of extreme weather and rare natural events. Perhaps they accidentally witnessed something classified. Or maybe, in the Ural Mountains, something beyond our understanding was at play. One thing is certain: as long as unanswered questions remain, the mystery of Dyatlov Pass will never die. The end.